go right into because this is going to be our first pilot conversation from Girls in the Quantum. Well, I am here with Nancy Pantilla from Timmins, Ontario, and I'm Susan, the Love Hacker from Montreal. And here we are, Girls in the Quantum, our first pilot conversation on why we're doing this and why it's so important that we really go into the world of the quantum and really explain what is going on there, because I know you utilize this space a lot, and it's one of those terms that so many people use it, but yet they use it for different purposes. They have different definitions. Nancy, welcome. This is amazing because we have like literally a whole calendar of discussions on how to really, I mean, the purpose of this podcast conversation and this YouTube channel is really to get people to understand how to bridge the two sides of our existence. We have the energetic, spiritual side that is purely energy. And then we have the physical, totally non-perfect, imperfect, crazy ego side. That we have to bridge together. So welcome, Nancy. And what are your thoughts on the quantum? Like, what are your feelings right now about this conversation we're going into?
I think it's the perfect time because we are in the midst of a great awakening on our planet. We really are. Like, you see people coming back to themselves, people coming back to the creator, to the earth. So to me, the bridge is like between heaven and earth. Like when I'm working with my clients, that's often how I feel, is like the creator is flowing through, right? So, and we are on the earth. We are in our human form, which we can't forget. Everybody is wanting to be so enlightened and, you know, just focused on that. But we need to also be grounded into the earth, into our human form. So like, I feel like so many people are bypassing their lives, spiritual bypassing. You know, there's a lot of spiritual ego. There's a lot of running away from their truth, running away from feeling what they need to feel, suppressing their emotions, suppressing who they really are. And I think a lot of it is due to the new cage movement. You know, like there's a lot of people stuck in that cage and needing to be something like others, like they're copying others, or they're looking at others as their gurus, and they're losing themselves. So being in the quantum is not about being someone else. It's about being who you are, being connected to that source, that creator, that love, that God flowing through you, beating your heart, breathing life into you. You know, that's who created you. So you're co-creating with that force when you're in the quantum. When you're out of the quantum, you're just stuck in ego or chasing gurus, like endlessly chasing gurus, you know? So
I know, exactly. No, I love the way you just explained that, because everybody can tap into the quantum. You and I know that. We all can. We all do. We have spurts of where we get this knowing, and then all of a sudden it goes away. So one of the things I want to talk about, let's just get clarity on what the quantum is from both the like you say, the right brain and then the left brain. So I'm going to just give a brief, this is not a scientific podcast. This is not a scientific YouTube channel on what the quantum is. This is really tapping into our energetic connection, in tapping into the quantum intelligence. This is not about IQ. This is not even about EQ. This is about just reconnecting with who you are and owning it. So from the scientific point of view, what is a quantum state, right? The quantum state, here's the definition. I'm just going to give the definition and then we'll clear it from there. The scientific definition is the quantum state, in scientific terms, is a mathematical entity that provides a probability distribution for the outcomes of each individual possible measurement on a system. So knowledge of the quantum state, together with the rules for the system's evolution in time, exhausts all that can be predicted about the system's behavior. Okay. Scientific, okay, right. What does that even mean in everyday layman terms for me, right? Because I've been playing in this quantum space and really understanding it. I think since when did I do my first? About 2016, when I went and did a certification in theta healing. So I became a theta healer. I looked at that space, and then I became a quantum healer in certification. And then I really wanted to understand, how do we tap into all of this abundant goodness in the universe? That is the quantum space. So how I have utilized it for myself is when I had all those certifications, I just felt my physical ego just go haywire, like literally, because you have this understanding and power all of a sudden. Isn't it crazy how it just messes with our ego?
You can, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people don't feel like they're enough to begin with, and they don't feel worthy. So I think getting certification sometimes validates them so much. Like I know people that have like 40 certifications on their wall. They've taken every possible course, but yet they're still not connecting to the force coming through. They still think they're the healer. And I think that's where, like, I don't want to go to someone who's giving me their energy. I want that force to come through, which I tap into myself all the time, because when I'm working with my clients, that's what I do. I have that beautiful force clearing me, creating a pure conduit for that beautiful quantum force, that love to flow through me. It's consciousness, it's the miracle worker, you know? So tapping into that is really not that difficult, but it's getting away from that crazy ego. So you're right. Like a lot of people, they think they're the Dalai Lama after they take a course for a weekend, you know, and not everyone loves the Dalai Lama, but you know what I mean? Like it's just a figure of speech, but yeah, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And I think people just want validation in who they are instead of going within. They're always seeking outside of themselves for that validation, for that
Yeah.
worth.
Well, you come from the Tony world, which is interesting because I come from the Bob Proctor world. So, but I've gone to Tony events and everything like that. But I mean, what Tony always talks about is significance,
Mm-hmm.
significance, and the validation. The need for validation is one of
Yes.
his. What does he call it?
Human needs. Yeah. The need.
Yes. So when we're evaluating, and this is what happened when, because I always self-analyze. I always see if I get a certification or something, I'm looking at what's happening to me and how I mean, I'm always measuring what that certification actually brings to me, other than, okay, whatever, clients or validation or whatever. But I remember myself, and this is what stopped me and got me to step away from that spiritual circle, is
Mm.
I started realizing, oh my gosh, hold on, I could feel myself feeling better than everybody else. Like I am here to save the world. I am here to save
Yeah.
you. And the moment I started feeling that ickiness, like I was better than everybody, I stepped away. I
Yeah.
put my certifications in an envelope in a drawer. I swear to God, I never even talked about them. Nobody really knows what certifications I have, because I'm looking at the actual market of people with certifications, and I'm actually working with a lot of them because they've lost themselves, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
had to help them find themselves back to the real world. Because one of the things about, especially the spiritual world, right, the spiritual circles,
Mm-hmm.
they have relinquished their ability to think.
Oh gosh. Yeah. They're just so focused on being enlightened, being like out there, but you need to be in here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they think the mind is toxic. You got to stay out of your mind and just be in that energy. You need your mind to be on board. Like your mind and your heart need to align, because your heart's the portal to the divine. So like when you align that together, you can't help but be in the quantum.
Well, this is why I love collaborating with you. The ultimate collaboration. Oh my God. Because
I'm so excited.
no joke, I think your superpowers is when you float, but yet you still have a developed thinking mind that is there. Obviously, because of your life, because of your story, you've
Mhm.
had to learn how to survive like a master.
It took me a long time though. Like it took me years to actually be in my body, because being in my body was actually painful when I was young. So to be in my body, it took a lot of practice. Like so now I can work with people who've had the traumas and stuff to be in their bodies and to embrace their bodies, to see their body as a temple, a loving place that houses their soul instead of running away from it.
Yeah. And here, that's the thing. What you've been through is what I don't think most people are been through. I mean, and I'm not saying you're the only one. I've worked with
Oh
clients with
God, no, there's lots.
really dark
Well,
past.
it's a lot. Yeah.
Too much, right? It's just mind-boggling to me. But because of that, you had to learn how to survive in the real world with your head. And so because of that, you've learned how to think. But your predominant superpower is when you tap into that space.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. It's addictive.
So, yeah, and
Yeah, I
so
have an addiction to that. I love tuning into that loving force. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm the absolute opposite, right? Like I've developed my thinking mind and my logical mind and my analytical. Even though I'm crazy woo woo, like in the spiritual space,
Yeah.
I've I've moved my way up the corporate ladder. I know how to really connect with the physical human side of people, which is the ego.
Yes.
And then I actually learned how to tap into that space, the quantum space, the universe, whatever we want to call it,
Yes.
the ultimate dimensional world. I don't care what we call it.
Yeah.
In the end of the day, but what the visual that I see for you and me, Nancy, you see, you can call me
It's so funny.
dipshit. You can call me dipshit because these physical names that we're given doesn't even freaking matter. I don't even care what you call me, really. It's really, who cares? Susan is not even my soul name. I don't give a crap. But anyway, the visual of Girls in the Quantum is that I see you as this beautiful helium balloon that's blown up with white light, and you just naturally float. Float. That's where your superpower is. You float over the earth and you just sprinkle love, right?
That's funny. I visualize that. That's really weird. Like I visualize love over the earth all the time, like almost like stardust, but from the heavens, over the
Oh
earth.
my
So that's
God.
really strange. Well, I'm not surprised with you though. You have such a beautiful balance of, the physical and the connection to the woo-woo. Right?
Yeah, it is. And so that's what I see. Because in the quantum, that's what I see everything with no judgment, though. I see all the dark, I see all the light, I see all the whatever. But when you work within that multi-dimensional space, you got to be able to go in there with no ego. And I know it's hard. I'm not saying I don't have ego. It's just those moments where I release my physical self from who Susan is. That's why when I'm in that quantum space, I don't know your name. I don't know I don't see that part. So
It's
that's
soul
why,
to soul.
yeah. So if I call you Robert one day, don't worry.
Robert, thanks. You're so funny.
But here's the visual. So you're floating in this beautiful balloon, always white light, always like glowing from within the balloon. It's not even from, like, it's just, and you're sprinkling love dust all over the world. And here I am, the only thing that's keeping you tethered to the earth. It's like on a dock.
Yeah, that
So
would
there's
be.
a string. This helium balloon is going. And I'm like, oh, geez. And here I am holding on to the balloon, but I am that big brick stone on the dock that is
Perfect.
anchored in. And the only thing that's holding you and me together is that string that's stretched. And I think that's the beautiful thing that we want to deliver with Girls in the Quantum is that string. How do you stay tethered to that block part of who you are?
Yes, you're true. Well, your truth can also be, of course, the essence, right? But yeah, being grounded in your truth as well it's so important, so powerful.
Yeah. So from the logical standpoint, when you look at the definition of what the quantum is, because the quantum, this is how I look at the quantum from layman terms, right? The quantum space is where there's no black and white, everything is gray. The quantum space is when nothing becomes everything and everything becomes nothing. This is the space where nothing is right, nothing is wrong, everything is right, everything is wrong. It's like nothing logical exists in there.
That's right. Yeah. It's in total flow.
Yeah.
Total flow, no matter what.
Yeah. And so, although we can all tap into that space at any given time, the only way you can sustain staying in that space is when you release all of your physical needs, all of your physical self, and you go in there just as a being, with full conscious social responsibility. Because honestly, when we play in that space and when we really truly understand that space, you have such a great respect for everything.
Oh, yeah. It's a totally blissful feeling. It is.
It is. You're
It's
free
pure
of
love.
judgment. You're free of fear.
Yeah.
You're free of everything.
Yeah. It's pure love.
It
Most
is.
beautiful feeling.
So I want you to explain, because I remember you mentioning to me not too long ago about when you're in that space and when you're working within that space, that you are a conduit. What does being a conduit really mean to you anyway?
Well, being a conduit is basically surrendering completely to the loving force coming through. I'll pray, for, like, I believe in the Holy Spirit and all that, Christ consciousness. I've had visions of Jesus for decades, like just always, and I don't go to church every Sunday. I just like, I don't even label that really. I don't want division with anyone. I want us to all be one, which we really truly are. That's our truth. But I just surrender to that force. Like I'll put my hands up after I pray and that force comes through me. And it's the most beautiful, loving force ever. Like I love that feeling. And I ask for that all the time. And sometimes it just naturally comes in because I've been, surrendering to that for decades now. But it's like, just, I don't think about symbols, making the symbols during healings or, a logical approach in that sense. I let that beautiful force of love, the creator God, to flow through me and use me. So I don't even own my body. My hands are doing what they need to do. I barely ever touch anyone because I'm working away from their body, because I'm working with their aura. I'm working with like their entire energy field and reconnecting it to the beautiful source of love, the miracle worker. So it is blissful. And that's like my sessions are typically, depending on if they're distance, they're like half an hour in person, even sometimes, because it's such a strong force. Like it doesn't need to be hours. I had one session years ago with someone who wasn't even a client of mine, but a beautiful lady in town who she was on her way to transition, right? She was suffering and stuff. Her sister contacted me, asked me to go to the home. That lasted 2.5 hours, that session. It was incredibly beautiful. But I thought, like, this is where my ego, I guess you could say, came in. This is like about 8 years ago, I guess. But I was like, oh my gosh, I saw her father, but I don't think her father was welcoming her home because she was young and she had a young son to raise. And I'm like, I got into what I wanted for her. And I'm like, she's going to live. She's going to be healed. Like, it was so beautiful that that's what I thought. Well, I got a call half an hour later that she had passed with a smile on her face. Oh my goodness, I bawled my eyes out. I was like, so I went out of the quantum after the healing, right? Which can happen at times. Like we've got to be conscious. But yeah, and Luke told me, my husband told me, he said, Nancy, that's her miracle. To transition peacefully. So, being in the quantum is not having those expectations. You set an intention of what the highest source of love wants for that person, that soul. So, it's being in that state. And we're all human. So I do surrender to that to do healings or to coach or anything because I'm human and the human can come in during sessions if we're not surrendering. So it's all about surrendering, connection, being in that essence.
Absolutely. That's
A long-winded version, right? Of course, I can talk for too long about this. I got overly passionate, but
oh, I love that because when we release the and that's key, right? Releasing expectations. And that's why I don't work with the spiritual circle a lot because they just don't want to let go of the spiritual ego of the martyrdom. And they've all put themselves in a situation where they are financially struggling. And in the universe, let's just talk about the universe, never mind quantum and all that. In the universe, you can't believe that there is abundance and yet not live with abundance. So there's a disconnect there already, right? If you truly believe in abundance, you would not judge wealth and money in that way.
Exactly.
You can't say money is important when you're also not valuing yourself with the money in return. So that's a lot of the confusion. And it is spiritual ego, but not in the egotistical sense. And I think people get triggered with the word ego.
Yeah.
I mean, I have ego. For goodness sakes, you think that fear never pops into my head? You think anxiety never pops into my head? Of course it
We're all
does.
human. We're all learning. If we're done our learning, we won't be here in the physical form anymore. We'll be brought back home. Like, okay, you're perfect. So I'll just bring you home now. We're all here still for a reason.
Absolutely. So we all have ego. Let's just be clear about that. But I think at the same time, I love playing in the quantum space now because in the beginning, as you're learning, you get one of the things about playing within the universal intelligence is you have to be consciously responsible, which means that if I claim to play in that space and I use it or I misuse the information from an ego standpoint, the kickback of the consequences are 100 times greater as if I did it without knowing. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because it's coming from that intentional that intentional space, right? So yeah, and there's a lot of that. People are doing healings or coaching. They're offering these services to get their egos fed sometimes,
Yeah.
and their pocketbooks too. It's not always from here, sadly.
Yeah, I've seen way too much of that, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, tons.
That's in our future
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we could go on and on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but within just this quantum space, and I've been asked many times, and this is where I want to clarify in this conversation. A lot of people who know I have the ability, like you, to tap into that space, but I tap into it from a very logical standpoint. So
yeah,
I don't
which is
know why.
rare.
Yeah, I guess so, right? Because one of the things I think years ago, I seem to attract people of I call you guys from another universe, from another quantum, from another dimension, from another planet. I don't care what, I mean, seriously, I've had people come to me and say, I'm not from here. Because I could tell they're not from here. I could tell
Okay.
that they live within another space. Okay. So I'm not going to call it aliens and just in case. But really, I've had people come to me and I'm like, and I could tell, and within the quantum, when I'm in that space all the time, and usually I used to work at conferences for Bob. And so I used to facilitate at some of his conferences, and people would come to me, and right away, if I'm always in the zone when I'm working, right? In the zone.
Yeah.
So I'm not Susan, I'm not married, not anything. I don't know what I am, but anyway, and people would come to me and right away I'm fed the information, and I would say to them, you're not from here, are you? And it's crazy how it just came through me, and I'm like, I know you're not from here, and I know what you're asking me. I know what
Yeah.
you're needing from me right now. And I could be at a bar, literally, like with
Yeah,
glasses of wine already finished, and they're all coming to me like from somewhere else, or people that have not been heard, seen, or understood.
Yeah,
And
a
usually it's
lot.
people like you that are born into this world on a mission, and you know way too much for your own physical self. So your spiritual
Mhm.
existence, the physical side has to catch up. And
Yeah,
that's really hard when you're young because
yeah.
you know too much without understanding anything. So you're outcasted, you're a target because everybody sees you but you. It's really weird. It's really weird.
It can be isolating. Even if you have friends all around you, you still can feel very alone. Even people who have had traumatic experiences as children feel like it's only been them. They're broken, or, there's something wrong with them that they attracted that or whatever. And then as you grow up, you realize it's everywhere. There's like tons of people that have been through that. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like being sensitive or empathic in any way, or an old soul, you can feel very, very isolated, even surrounded by hundreds of people, like it. Yeah, it's different, right? But you grow into it and you own it and own who you are, no matter what. Don't care what anyone thinks anymore.
And that's a journey in itself, which is
Mhm.
we're going to be having that conversation about people
Yeah.
pleasing and the need to be validated and significance.
Uh,
But you're right, because I don't feel like I'm from anywhere else. I'm so earthling. Like I literally am an earthling, which it's funny because when I've worked with some very powerful spiritual people of
yeah.
a very high vibration, and because I'm helping them, and I'm thinking, how am I helping them when they have all the intelligence to their access? The only thing is, I remember one person was telling me, this is what you are to us. Because I always felt like, you know how when all the spaceships are hovering, okay, like literally hovering on Earth, and they're just looking down at us stupid people, because really our human side is just stupid. We're just freaking stupid, right? I mean, some of the things we do, and Bob used to talk about this all the time, Bob Proctor. He talks about the knowing doing gap. We know what we know, but why the hell are we doing what we're doing when we know what we know? It's just the most
We're
ridiculous
on
thing.
autopilot
Yes.
programming. Yeah, subconscious
So
programming.
the reason why you've always felt alone, or a lot of people like you that have this greater intelligence, I call it the universal intelligence, is because that's why you're hovering. You're on the helium balloon, or you're in your spaceship, you're in some kind of in the air looking down like, I ain't landing there. It is awful down.
No, it's not all awful, But you know what really gets to me is seeing people suffering and being stuck in patterns of struggle when they don't need to be. Because often I'll see the gifts in people. Like I have people messaging me often and they're like, I've been told I'm gifted, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's gifted. So, you know, if you're feeling so stuck in suffering, stuck in struggle, and stuck in not feeling like you're enough, if someone tells you you're gifted, that can go straight to ego sometimes. And that's what I've witnessed in a lot of people. And then they create more suffering because they think that they're so gifted and so above suddenly. But people are stuck in these patterns instead of being in here. You know, it's once you connect here, it's the longest journey head to the heart. It really is. But man, once you're in there, you know, you never think you're better than anyone in any possible way, but you do own who you really are, like the love that you are, the gifts that you have to share with this world. Everybody has gifts. And yeah, this like, I don't know, like hovering over the earth, witnessing suffering just makes my heart like expand even more, where I'm like, I just want to wrap everyone with my heart, that love, because I know suffering and I want to help to end suffering. I want to help to end needless struggles. Like we're always going to have challenges in life. We're human. We're here to learn and grow. I'm going to have them too. I'm not enlightened beyond everyone. Like we're all human, but I want to help to end the needless suffering. You know, what we're creating in ourselves. There's so much programming. We need to bring the unconscious to the conscious and step into wholeness, heal ourselves, and love the parts of ourselves that we neglect and reject and hide from everybody.
And I think that you just nailed it right there, is that the collaboration between me and you is I allow you the safe space to just stay up there and just sprinkle love. Just sprinkle, just keep sprinkling. Just don't worry about the thinking too much. I'll relieve of that. And I don't need to sprinkle. I will just ground everybody, because I am on the ground. And that's why collaboration and connection is what we all seek. It's all what we all yearn for, connection.
Absolutely.
But connection means you have to have both sides of yourself, both elements of yourself, the thinking and the energetic spiritual side, balanced. Otherwise, if you have relinquished your thinking, then you have relinquished your physical connection. Because the thinking and thoughts are physical. They really are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and your body is your subconscious mind, really.
Absolutely.
Are on your body, like in your body.
Absolutely, because the body is the physical. So I consider the thinking as part of the physical, but the feeling is the energetic. And so what I've done is, because I've studied how you play in the quantum, how you are able to really tap into it, you really have to know how to then translate that into physical form. Because we have an abundance of information. Even if I were to see what's about to happen, if I'm in front of you, Nancy, who knows? Because you and I are in the quantum space right now talking. And so I have to look at your name to make sure I'm talking to the right person, because, you know, there are a lot of everything and nothing is in the quantum. So if I'm playing there and I see what your life is all about, if I see what is about to come, if I see where I fit into it, I have to learn how to be able to responsibly translate that into words.
Yes, absolutely.
And still being very aware and conscious of how I'm affecting you in this physical world, and not move any moving parts within what I see. So that alone is an interesting state to be in, because I always have joke around with my friends. I'm like, because they would all, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know that? And I'd be like, I wish I didn't know as much as I did sometimes.
Yeah, it can be tough.
Yeah, it's a very lonely space where you're the only one privy to certain information sometimes, and you can't do anything about it. I can't go and save Nancy. I know how to lead you to help you, but I cannot go and fix it. Believe me, it's the hardest thing when I see it within my own family. I cannot interfere, knowing what I know. It's the weirdest feeling. That's why being alone has been something that I've always been alone. because no one can really see what you see. No one, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with being okay with feeling alone. There's nothing wrong with it. This is a crazy thing.
If you love who you are at a soul level, you're good with being alone. It's okay. You embrace it. You know,
Yeah,
you're here for that purpose. Whatever, you know, you're created for, you're good.
exactly. So I'm so excited about Girls in the Quantum because you, my soul sister, we understand it on such a different level. But from my point of view, the block that's on that dock holding Nancy as she's sprinkling the love sprinkler, like literally just
Sprinkler.
right? Yeah, you just do you just do you, and I just do me. I won't go and interfere with sprinkling because my sprinkles are a little bit more painful. It's not
wisdom sprinkles. Like you're helping people with your wisdom, right? I know you don't want to say that probably, but I mean, I've known you for years now, and I know you're full of wisdom and truth, and I love that. Yeah, it's easy to trust you.
Oh, well,
it's so important. People don't know who to trust anymore.
No, you don't.
You know, people have been taken for rides, lost thousands of dollars for coaching or healing or whatever courses, and yeah, people don't know who to trust.
No, and the sad thing, you know what, soul sister, if never mind the relationship, intimate, romantic relationships. Let's forget about that connection for a second. Just our own connection between women and women. If we can't even trust each other, what trust is there? So many heartbreaks from friendships, so many heartbreaks from the professional world, so many heartbreaks from social media and marketing, so many heartbreaks that people have just been broken in their faith from women to women.
Yeah. Women have been tainted though with like what they're supposed to look like, the nose they're supposed to have, the hair extensions, and they're always trying to fix the outside, which is fine if you're having fun with it. But when you're defining yourself by that and you don't know who the hell you are inside, that's suffering. That's another level of suffering. You think another person is going to help you, think another session of Botox is going to fix inside. You've got to go within. And if you do that great, but go within. You can't avoid this by focusing on what you look like or what you have.
Oh my gosh. Well, that leads us to the next conversation about people pleasing and significance and validation, and where you sit within your own space of owning who you are, because owning who we are, it starts with that, right? So definitely, Girls in the Quantum, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a space, a community where it's time that we help the masses and not break each other's bank account. This is ridiculous now. I mean, I know that, you know, I have private clients that I have helped like massively, but I really, something has always sit wrong with me over the years where I help the people that can afford it. So what, if you can't afford it, you don't get help? Like that doesn't make sense.
We're in alignment there.
Yeah, right? I mean, there has to come a point where, okay, how do we bring our experience and our wisdom and our transformational skills or logical skills, wisdom, whatever, love sprinkles, into the masses to help them get back into a balanced state? And so that's why, Nancy, creating this community and leading people with their heart in a safe space that doesn't take them further into survival is key.
So important.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, so stay tuned for that community because that is key. But let's we will stop here about the quantum. I mean, the quantum will always come into our conversations.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But let's just talk about let's go to the next talk on people pleasing, validation, significance, and how to get out of that rabbit hole trap.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.